Let's see. We've got three different Elimination Chamber qualifying matches. We're also going to get the follow-up from Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins on what happened at the press conference. This Raw should be exciting. Welcome to SVS Wrestling on YouTube and SVS Wrestling Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, by Silo Voice Studios in Montreal. I'm Jason C. McLean. Now, normally I review Raw, SmackDown, and WWE PLEs in written form at svsreviews.com/wrestling. For this week, though, I'm going to do that in this form. This podcast slash YouTube channel is usually just for sort of op-eds on wrestling and wrestling news, but we're going to try this out. So on February 12th, 2024, WWE RAW was in the the apparently world famous for wrestling, Rupp Arena in Lexington, Kentucky, and these are my thoughts. Okay, well, we started off with again my favorite new way to start off is showing people getting arriving at the arena, and apparently Cody Rhodes has a bus now. I guess he had one before. I really love that. It really brings the excitement in. And of course, I noticed also throughout this episode, some of the new graphics came back, which is good because they had stopped for a while. They brought it in and they stopped it, then they brought it back. Anyways, we started off this particular Raw of all the things you wouldn't expect them to start off an episode of WWE television with, but we started off with a match. Yes, it was a really good match. It was a six-man tag team match with all of Imperium. That's Ludwig Kaiser, Giovanni Vinci, and of course the Intercontinental Champion Gunther versus the New Day, Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston, and main event Jey Uso. Now, obviously, this match is designed to set up the inevitable Intercontinental title fight between uh, Gunther and Jey, but also to maybe finally pay off or close out that feud that the New Day have with the other two members of Imperium. But this actually turned out to be a really good match. It was a really well laid out match. It started off with Kofi and Vinci chopping each other. It was a chop fest. I always love it when there's Gunther in a match and he's not the one involved in the chopping. Anyways, it was, like I said, very well laid out. It started off like that. Eventually, Jay got into some trouble, was stuck in the ring throughout an entire commercial break. And then eventually he got a bit of a break, and then he came back in, and he was all power, all energy, and he sort of cleared the ring, except for Gunther. And eventually, he got Gunther back into the ring. He coaxed him back into the ring. He almost got like a 2 count. He kicked out of a 2 count. Uh, it really showed how he's an opponent who could potentially beat Gunther. Now, I don't think he's going to beat Gunther because the match is going to be on Raw. We found out the match is going to be next week on Raw. Uh, I think if Gunther, the longest reigning Intercontinental title streak in history, is going to end, if it's going to end anywhere, it's going to end at a PLE or by Gunther vacating the title. Anyways, that exchange was great. Also, there's some really nice new camera angles. They came back from commercial break with a camera behind the turnbuckle, which was really cool. And they went back to it for the hot tag to get Jay back in before he cleared house. Um, they ended, of course, as you can see here, with for those video viewers, with a modified 1D. Although, isn't it a 3D if there's three people involved? But something with the Dudleys, I don't know. It looked good on the part of the New Day, but Jay kind of seemed to sort of misjudge the angle, and he didn't really get in there. But still, one small slip up in a very well executed match. And it was given enough time, like three commercial breaks, and it kicked off Raw, and it got us really excited for future matches. So, I mean, that wasn't how I was expecting them to kick it off, but it's always nice when they do something like that. Um, we moved along. Well, I mean, before we got into the next match, it was the Elimination Chamber qualifying match between Bobby Lashley and Big Bronson Reed. And I never like calling Bronson Reed big because it seems kind of redundant. Like you don't call it, there's no lanky Sami Zayn or um, average sized Kevin Owen. Like, anyways, I get it now because there's a video package, sort of like a King Kong style. I guess The Rock's back now, maybe Rampage, like sort of punching through buildings with helicopters. It was honestly, I was I was like, okay, it's an Elimination Chamber qualifying match. I started thinking about it the moment I saw the video package because they did Lashley's entrance first. We came back with the package and like, what? This is hilarious. I cracked up. And I was sure that even though like they really are stacking this Elimination Chamber with stars, and Lashley is by far the biggest star, and it'd be a shame for him to miss it. But Bronson Reed's Australian, and he was in the Elimination Chamber last year in Montreal. Did a good job. I thought that there's no way he's not going to make this Elimination Chamber, but of course, sure enough, he didn't make the Elimination Chamber. I mean, he looked really strong in the match. Obviously, got some kicks in on Lashley. Lashley looked incredibly strong too. I mean, suplexing and slamming a guy that size, but eventually he missed a tsunami. And actually, Lashley stopped him from even doing the tsunami, got up, picked him up, and slammed him. And Lashley won. And Bronson even went on X or Twitter later saying he was sad he wasn't going. Now we're going to save the next part for later. Maybe there's a chance he gets back in. I don't know. But yeah, so Bobby Lashley won. I also really like the way that when we're on the road to WrestleMania, the whole brand split, recent draft seems to go out the window for the most part. Okay, fine, we're not going to see Roman Reigns on Raw, but still, you get Bobby Lashley on Raw. We had Drew McIntyre on SmackDown, Sami Zayn the other night. And now we got, we have that LA Knight coming up a bit later. Now, we followed up this match with something that was interesting. I mean, not interesting that Sami Zayn's being interviewed in an empty arena, the empty arena before the show, and not interesting that Shinsuke Nakamura sort of threatens or challenges someone on a screen, but the fact that it happened at the same time, Sami Zayn's giving an interview, and then all of a sudden there's Shinsuke basically, promising to wreck his dreams, typical stuff, sort of spooky video stuff. Now, when Shinsuke does this during the show, in kayfabe, you assume that the audio and production people and video people are behind it, or he's working with them. But here, he's just hacking into the feed. There's no production people on the crew. They're just shooting an interview. I don't know. I thought that was hilarious. I thought it was really nice, a really interesting look. And of course, before this, we saw a little recap of what happened after Raw last week, after Cody beat Shinsuke and Drew knocked him out, went off the air. Sami Zayn came in with the save after Cody got back up and Drew and Shinsuke were attacking him. So that sets things up for later. So, of course, I'm going to do a whole other video about Sami Zayn, like one of my usual sort of opinion videos, but this one, the guy needs a win, but more on that later. Then we get to the centerpiece of this episode, which is, I mean, okay, I'm gonna do a whole other video about sort of the whole Roman Rock Cody Seth thing, which is the big story going. But today, I mean, Cody Rhodes came out. He was great. He even got a little bit massive pop, of course. We want Cody. A little bit of an awkward segment when he showed the clip of Rock talking about, taking those chicken nuggets sideways, whatever. And the fact that he was next to Pat McAfee, he actually asked Pat McAfee. See Pat McAfee sort of crouching in his chair. I mean, Pat's part of the story too, and he's was kind of identified as on the Rock side. Of course, the Rock was still kind of babyface turning heel at the time. It's good that they covered that. Of course, they didn't cover the big elephant in the room, which is why Cody actually said not at WrestleMania on SmackDown. I think that didn't need to be covered. Actually, I'm going to do a whole video about that. But enough, just long story short, I think kayfabe is extended beyond what happens on camera. Anyways, but more on that in another video. Cody did a great crowd pleasing promo. And of course, Seth Rollins, World Heavyweight Champion Seth freaking Rollins came down and had a nice exchange with Cody. He invoked the shield. I will be your shield. I don't know how they're going to work Seth into this picture. Maybe he's going to drop the World Heavyweight title with a cash in after he claims he's medically cleared. And then the Elimination Chamber winner fights, Damian Priest for the belt, and Seth is free to either fight Rock one-on-one. Maybe the Rock helps Priest do the cash in, or maybe he's involved in the tag match. I just can't see. I mean, I can definitely see Cody and Roman Reigns working 2 nights in a row, but doing the tag match the first night and then their title match for the WWE Undisputed Universal Championship on night two. But I can't see Seth Rollins defending his title and having a tag match on the same night, especially considering he's not in the best of shape. But of course, that was a good setup. It really intrigues people. If you saw the ad they ran before the Super Bowl, it's clearly these four are in the big picture. And I'm glad. I mean, if he's not defending the title, if Seth Rollins has a match with The Rock at WrestleMania, that's pretty huge. Uh, so this was definitely the centerpiece of the show, and definitely right at the 9 o'clock hour. Definitely what I'm very much looking forward to seeing where this goes. Papa H is cooking. Yeah. Um, then we got the announcement about the that next week is going to be the Intercontinental title match. I think if Gunther was see Gunther, you may or may not know, is currently trying to get permanent resident status in the US. And for that, you actually can't leave the country for several months. So he can't go to Australia. Otherwise, the match might have been there. And then we might think there might be a title change. But with this, of course, speculation, not the only one that speculated. I think Jimmy Uso is going to, jump in on this one, cause Jay the match, and that'll set up their WrestleMania encounter. And who knows who Gunther will fight at Mania. Raw rolls on. Okay, now I got to move back for this one. We have Liv Morgan versus Zoe Stark. Now, okay, I don't think Liv is winning the Elimination Chamber. I'm pretty sure that's Becky Lynch, but I definitely knew she was going to go there. Especially this is her first singles match back after a long layoff. It's obvious she's going to win. I mean, Zoe Stark did look good in the match. It's not like she didn't do anything. Yeah, I mean, yeah, the Zoe Stark, she put up a good fight. Liv was fiery out of the gate, but Stark at one point hit a Death Valley driver, knocking Liv to the apron. But of course, wasn't that long. Liv powered back, got the Oblivion, and won. And of course, everyone went wild. I mean, Liv is a very, I guess, very popular. I mean, I think her title run kind of missed, but I think this new angry vengeance tour Liv Morgan is interesting to watch. And I mean, I don't think she'll get Rhea at Mania, but who knows? Maybe after. Maybe she'll have something else. That maybe whoever stops her, she'll have a match with them at Mania. And then we got okay. Now, I do love the R-Truth Judgment Day interactions, and it's sad to see it's ending. I think the comedy part of it's ending anyways. I mean, it kind of had to end, especially if they're getting serious before Mania, and uh maybe they'll have Awesome Truth finally take the tag titles from Damian Priest and Finn Balor. But the setup to this match, with Priest basically telling Truth that he's not going to be they're not going to be buddies anymore. Truth calling on the phone. The match itself, I mean, aside from the fact that JD McDonough actually won, I don't even know what his finisher move's called. JD McDonough doesn't usually finish, doesn't usually win. I could look it up now, but I'm not going to pause the video for that. JD McDonough, yeah, I mean, he's good and he actually won a match and he's not the fall guy. But of course, the real reason for this match was sadly the beat down of R-Truth. And I was actually wondering the whole match, okay, Truth is obviously this is gonna happen. His final exit from Judgment Day. We know the Miz isn't there. I was thinking maybe John Cena's gonna come down. No, who knows? But of course, it was DIY, which is kind of odd because they're not even the ones fight. They already lost to Judgment Day. They're not the ones fighting them at Elimination Chamber. But of course, it did lead to that really funny segment in the back near the end of the show. Uh, yeah, the really funny segment in the back near the end of the show, where he basically said, "Oh wow, I was saved by DX." It'd be funny if DIY comes down with DX music at some point. Anyways, I won't think too much on that. And then the man, Becky Lynch, is out. Yeah, that was a great promo. I especially love the pack where she's talking about explaining to her daughter why she has bruises, all that. And I now have to explain why daddy wants to fight Maui. Excellent promo. I Becky's really honestly, she's very real on the mic, very funny, very entertaining, great in the ring, work with anyone. Um, I really do hope it's her and Rhea. I mean, I think I really want to see that match. It doesn't have as much story as, for example, Bailey and Io. In fact, if one of those matches is going to main event night one, I think it should be Bailey and Io because Triple H always goes with the one with the best story. But I definitely, I'm definitely looking forward. I'm sure Becky and Rhea is going to be the better match. I was less impressed with Nia Jax coming down, trying to bring herself in, and eventually uh, Rhea comes down, and their shot to the outside, and we're left with Becky looking at basically Becky and Rhea doing a stare down. Nia Jax coming back, shoving her down. Of course, who knows? Nia Jax might win the Elimination Chamber and Liv. No, Nia Jax might win the title match at EC, and Liv Morgan wins the Elimination Chamber, and then we got Nia Jax and Liv Morgan at WrestleMania. No, I don't want to see that. Maybe actually I wouldn't mind seeing those two, but not for the championship. I want to see these two for the championship. And then we got some more crossover. Yeah, going into this match, I was like, LA Knight better watch it. Ivar did beat Tozawa last week. Fun aside. This was a really interesting, unexpected match, that something I'd never expect to see, but I mean, it makes sense in the context of the tournament. Ivar's really strong at the start. Seeing as they're stacking the Elimination Chamber with stars, I knew LA Knight was going to win because he's a much bigger star. And of course, he ended up powering through. He did get to lift Ivar a bit, and he eventually hit the BFT. Just a great way to get LA Knight on Raw. Fun match, pretty short match, good match. And of course, now this backstage segment, I definitely think Chelsea Green should be in the Elimination Chamber, but because for character reasons, I think she should be everywhere. Chelsea's great, but for emotional reasons, I think Indy Hartwell, she's Australian, she should get the extra spot. And if they're doing an extra spot for the women, maybe they're doing one for the men too, and maybe that's how Bronson Reed's going to get it. No, maybe they're just fine. Both fine. I mean, the whole crew travels when they go on these tours, anyways. LA Knight was talking about being in Saudi Arabia one time when he wasn't even on the show, just there to do press. So they are going to go to Australia, but it would be great if they could at least, appear and have some sort of a match, even if it's not in the chamber itself. Um, okay, and then we have our main event: Sami Zayn versus Shinsuke Nakamura. Now, I wasn't really watching NXT a number of years ago. I kind of missed the rise of Sami Zayn there, but I'm told that that Shinsuke's first match was against Sami Zayn, and it was a total barn burner. And this match was no different. This was an excellent match. A lot of like up and down. Shinsuke missed a Kinshasa, and Sami turned it into a blue thunder bomb. He got the 2 count. He's setting up, and everything's going. He's setting up, and then Shinsuke ducked away and kicked him, and then he almost had the chance to win, and it looked like at the end he was almost going to win. And then, of course, Drew McIntyre comes in, uh, and that causes a distraction. So at least Sami lost, but at least he lost by distraction. And Cody Rhodes came down for the save. So he's still in. I'm glad that Sami's still in the main event picture, still considered main event, not mid card. He's with guys like Cody and Drew. But mean, I really want to see him win one, but I kind of get what they're doing, and I'll do another video on that. But that was a really good main event to close off Raw, and yeah, this Raw wasn't as like last week was just felt so odd because everyone was just like they were so upset that they weren't going to get a resolution. They wanted Cody, they wanted them to change the main event. There wasn't going to be a resolution. Now that resolution's happened, we still don't know. Might get the tag match. We got heel Rock. SmackDown's going to probably continue to build. And this is continuing the building. This is building to Elimination Chamber. We're on the road to WrestleMania, but on the road to Elimination Chamber. And this was a fun, entertaining show with some good matches that got us set on that road. And that's how I saw the February 12th Raw from the Rupp Arena in Lexington, Kentucky. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube, please like the video, ring the bell for notifications. If you're if you're whatever podcast platform you're on, give us like a 5-star rating. If you have an opinion on any of what I've said, please leave it in the comments. If you have a critique of the technical aspects of this show, instead of writing a message, why don't you go to patreon.com/silovoice and send some money and I'll improve my tech. Maybe I'll actually learn how to do proper video editing or hire an editor. Who knows? Again, aside from this one, I review in written form Raw, SmackDown, WWE PLEs at svsreviews.com/wrestling. On YouTube, this is where we were sort of giving opinion pieces, wrestling news. YouTube, on YouTube, it's SVS Wrestling, and wherever you get your podcasts, it's SVS Wrestling Podcast. At SVS Reviews on Twitter or X, and Instagram and Facebook. And I'm at Jason C. McLean on Instagram and on X, and that's actually where I talk about wrestling. Yeah. I guess thanks for these are my thoughts on Raw. And yeah, like, share, subscribe, and I will catch you next time.